Thursday morning, leaving the Best Western in Tehachapi after a nice couple of days off. So we're ready to roll all the way to Kennedy Meadows. Good morning. Okay, we just been dropped off by Wilson, this sweet man. He's a trail agent. Replied to us on Facebook and said he would bring us out here. Refused to take any money for it because it's on his way to work. So this is where we walked in the other day over by those rocks, and we got picked up and taken into town, and now we're getting dropped off and heading back. And that poor snake did not make it. And yeah, so we've got 8 miles in this windy area to get to the highway, which is kind of the second Tehachapi exit. But we'll just get there. There's a water cache. We'll get extra water and we will head on through, and we'll be heading towards Lake Isabella, hopefully getting there in around 5 days, maybe a little sooner, we hope. This is sort of cool because when I came out a couple years ago to support Tiger Lily for a couple weeks, I would come through this area. I came through this area several times and dropped off some Trail Magic, put coolers out here with food and water and different things along these hills coming up here. And so, yeah, kind of interesting to actually be walking the trail now. But anyway, okay, we're back on trail. Woo! We're doing it! All the way to Canada, baby! All right, we've gone, what, maybe 5.5 miles this morning almost. And we've come through all the wind turbines and these little mountain hills, and we're almost to the highway there. That's the highway. If you go left, takes you to Tehachapi. Go right, takes you out towards Mojave. Mojave is where we stayed last year. This year we stayed in Tehachapi. And so the trail's winding down. You can see it down there, and who knows where all it goes. But we'll come out on this little road down here, and we'll road walk that down, and then you can see how it goes across and up kind of beside the freeway, and then there's a crossing bridge over there. We walk up that, and then there should be water there, probably right around under the bridge, and a water cache. And then right up there, top of that little crossing bridge, we will just head up into the hills. And that's where we'll be going for today, plus 4 more days, until we get to the road to Lake Isabella, which is where we'll resupply next. And that is quite a ways away from the road. It's not a great place to resupply because you have to get some kind of hitch, and you go you drive for like 20 minutes to get into some little grocery store to just do some quick resupply. So it's sort of a pain, but it's necessary, and we'll figure it out. And then yeah, we'll just keep trucking, and we pretty much won't take any days off or do anything like that, barring any kind of real problems. But until we get to Kennedy Meadows South, which is that area right before we go into the Sierra Mountains. Okay, so right up there is where we just walked across the highway. We came down. There's this water cache. Somebody's providing all this all the time. We saw them walking up with some empty bottles, and he said thanks. That's really amazing that people do this, because otherwise, I mean, from here we have to carry water 16 miles over and up there. And if this wasn't here, you have to carry from the 8 miles back, right? So that's too much. So 16 miles is doable. So anyway, we filtered this water and got it all going. We're ready to head up. Tiger Lily's filling out the register. Why? Because she says so the local officials will know where to find our bodies. Not funny. Okay, see you later. Well, this nice little Joshua tree here provided a little tiny bit of shade for us, but that is a lot up here. We have done a little over 12 miles today, and it is cooking, and we were super hot. I needed to stop for lunch. The thermometer is registered about 90 in the shade, 110 in the sun, and yeah, we were not finding any shade right at midday, so that Joshua tree was awesome. So anyway, we just had lunch. We're heading out another 12, just barely over 12 to go to get to water, and we could probably tent before we get there and then go get water the next morning, but we would be really dry. We have had to go, well, we will have had to go 16 miles without, just carrying our water. And I was carrying about 5 liters, which is a ton, like 11 pounds in water. And man, it was a rough morning, and plus it's just been so super hot that, those liters that could easily get us by for a whole day and now their weather, not so much today. So if we don't make it these next 12 miles, we're just gonna have a few little drips of water to get us through the night until we hike to the water in the morning. So we're gonna do our best to get there tonight. Hey, so it's about 5 p.m. We're probably 2.5, 3 hours away from the water, and then hopefully find a tent site immediately after that. So yeah, it's been really hot today. As a result, we've been moving slow, and plus, we've had so much weight with, just coming out of town, 5 days worth of food, and all the extra water for 16 miles. And plus, we had an elevation change of like 3,500 feet today. So, I think we're just trying to get enough oxygen in our bodies right now too. And it's been a slog for sure. But, we're doing all right. And we had a couple hours at least there in the middle where we were really rationing our water just to make sure, because it was so hot. We just weren't sure, like, are we really gonna make it there? So we were going really low on the water, and that was hurting us too. We weren't in any danger or anything, but we were not feeling great and not as hydrated as we needed to be. But a couple of clouds rolled in. It cooled off 5 to 8 degrees, which makes a huge difference. And the wind finally picked up and stayed up. And so, we're getting by. Neither one of us can wait to get to camp tonight, though. And drink a lot of water and get in bed and get this day over. Start a new one. Well, it's turned into a beautiful night. And we're in a really beautiful little area. And just maybe another 1.5 miles, we'll be to the water, and we'll be ready to get to our tent site. It's cooled off so much. Oh, if the whole day had been this way, it would have been great. Hallelujah. What a beautiful little place to get some water. So now, about maybe just a little over a 1/4 mile, hopefully we'll find a good tent site. There should be one, supposed to be one up here. So. Okay, so we're inside the tent. It is morning, but earlier than we wanted to get up. The wind has been blasting all night long. The tent has been caving in. Tons of dirt, dust, sand inside the tent from blowing all night long. So anyway, we're getting up. We're trying to get out of here before everything collapses. And Not the best night's sleep that we hoped for after that day we had yesterday, but that's the way it goes. So we're getting it going as fast as possible. Okay, tent's torn down. It is a beautiful morning other than the 9,000 mile an hour gusts. Sun's just coming up over the mountains. We knew when we set up here last night that it could be super windy. We'd already done over 24 miles in the heat and the elevation and whatever, and we were just done. And so that's what we did, because it was like about 4 miles to the next, to where it's not windy here. So anyway, yeah, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. All right, we're off. Got get some water just about a half mile ahead, and then we have to carry for about 11 miles. And then unfortunately, the water at 11 miles is like a mile off the trail, which really stinks, but that's the way it is in the desert. So we'll have to hike a mile to get the water, and then hike a mile back, and then we'll start back on our trail again. So then the next water after that is just at the very end of the day. So not as bad as yesterday, but still some long water carries. Should be beautiful though. Just when I think we're done with the evergreen forest, come across a little swath again. This is a pretty big swath, but then you can see in the distance it turns right back into desert. Desert mountains, so gotta enjoy it while you can. It's gorgeous, and it's nice and cool through here, nice cool breeze. We've been walking in and out of the sun for the past 45 minutes or so, and the sun is already super hot. But the shade is super cool, so I try to take advantage of that as much as possible. Won't be shady for long. We stopped to have lunch, and that was nice. And then we had to go down and get the water, and it stinks to go that far. Almost never do you have to go that far off trail, but there's just nothing much around here. No water caches, no streams. Earlier in the year, like in April, they have some seasonal streams, some snow melt stuff that you can get to, but not now. So just went down pretty steep enough that it was not easy to go down either. So that was work going down, and got the water, and I come back up, and it's been, check the time here. Yeah, it took me about 30 minutes to get back up here. So 30 minutes of climbing. I'm sweating like crazy. They guzzled down some of this water I just carried up. But anyway, it'll get us to our next place, 9.2 miles away. Just when I think that we're done with the pine forest, just like I said this morning, and I'm about to die of heat stroke in the desert mountains with no coverage, all of a sudden, boom, again. I could hike like this all day long. It would be so wonderful. Can't wait to get to Oregon. 600 miles on the PCT. And there's maybe a spot over here to tent, which sounds really good. Well, we'll talk about it and see if this is where we end up tonight. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. The birds are just chirping a little. It's actually a lot darker than it looks like in this video. We're getting an early start. Oh, yesterday we wanted to get about 20 miles to this water source, but it was so hot and I was really struggling at the end of the day. We were barely moving. I was barely moving. So Tiger Lily wanted to go on another couple miles, but I had to stop. So we found a good little spot. Got some decent sleep and getting going again today, hopefully. Now that we're starting early, we'll get some miles in before it gets too hot, and we can take it a little easier maybe later in the day. We'll see how that works out. The trail goes through private land right here, and therefore the 10 Commandments sign that somebody's put up, and also this private cabin that's sitting out here. Looks like they have a big cistern up there, storage unit. So try to be respectful through here and not go off the trail and tent or go to the bathroom or anything like that. You got to appreciate that these people let the trail go through their land. I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, last night, way too tired. We got into camp to realize, but we had done, just right before we got to the tent, a mile or two before, we had completed 1/8 of the trail length. So the trail's around 26:55-ish. So anyway, 1/8. That's in some ways seems like, wow, already, but in other ways seems like, oh, we got to do this 7 more times. That's a lot of walking. So anyway, also, I mentioned this in an earlier video just briefly, but when I was out here for a couple of weeks in 2022 supporting Tiger Lily's hike, I'd mentioned that I picked her up in Tehachapi, and that's where I saw her first. But then over the next 2 weeks, from there to up to Kennedy Meadows South, I was driving all up and down in these mountains, looking for places to do trail magic and doing trail magic and tenting and not on the trail, and just at random places with my truck. And so it's going to be cool. I think starting maybe even later today, come across one of the first places that I did trail magic, actually set up, and I don't even remember what I did. I think that day maybe I cooked eggs. Gotta get into this tree. And then maybe hung around long enough to do hot dogs or something. I'm not sure, but anyway, I'll be mentioning over this next week and a half as I cross places that I recognize, or that different things have happened, like where I got my truck stuck in the sand. All right. We are at our first water source for the day. It's only been 2 or 3 miles, but we're here. So go down. Not even sure where our next one is, so I'll have to look that up and figure how much water we need to carry. You want some water too, don't you? That was a nice little spring. That was at mile 603. The reason I'm saying that is because water is plentiful today, which is nice for a change out here. There's going to be water all over the trail for the next few miles until mile 610. So, you know, that means we only need to be carrying about a liter or so now, which is nice and light. And then there's a big water cache that somebody keeps stocked up, big 5-gallon jugs, mile 617. So that's only another 7 miles beyond that. So we only need to carry a liter and a half or something, you know, even if it's hot. So that'll be good. And then after that, there's another water cache at about another 15 miles beyond the first one. So we won't get that far today. So we're not even a mile from getting water at that spring when I came across this dirt road. And this is where I first did trail magic last year, 2 years ago. I kind of up there, sort of see there's a bit of a clearing way up there anyway, and I tented the night before and then just drove down this road in the morning in my truck and backed in right here and had some chairs and things out here, I think. And anyway, yeah, people just crossed the trail right here, and I was cooking something or another. Tiger Lily says she remembers hot dogs. I can't remember if I did. I don't think I did eggs that day. I'm not sure though. But anyway, really cool. I was here for, I don't know, a long time, a couple hours at least, and then headed off, I think, back up that way to get out and go explore and find the next spot. So cool. And then when everybody was done, they headed on down the trail here, and I had no idea where they came from or what that experience was like and where they were going, and now I get to do it. We're just walking along and marveling at this gorgeous area. Stream down there, you can hear these beautiful, gorgeous, big pines. Magnificent. It's just a beautiful morning. Gotta really stop and take stock of these moments because some of the other moments are, you know, incredibly crazy hot days that you're not always loving. But wow. Well, that wonderful pine forest has been replaced with a desert rock playground, which is pretty cool, really. It's just not a nice pine forest. We're definitely 100% out of the forest and back into the desert, and will be for a while. So we're almost to the water cache. It's just a couple tenths of a mile, and we'll be able to water up for the rest of tonight and for a good 12, 13 miles tomorrow. Our biggest issue is, you know, we're gonna have to find a place to tent tonight, and we're gonna be in these hills right here. And there ain't nothing. So it is hot, and we're not going to be hiking all evening in this, um, but where do you find to set up your tent? Because anywhere you put your tent is going to be 1,000 degrees inside the tent because it's right under the sun. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get lucky and find the one tree somewhere. It's just in the right place, but that's very, very unlikely. Maybe we'll find a little shady spot that we can just tuck in under and just take a siesta for a while until it gets later and sun goes down. It's not so hot, and then we can set the tent up. Or we don't really know what we're gonna do, but something like that. I'll show you what our solution is whenever we figure it out later. Well, we just crossed Kelso Road where the water cache was, and I forgot to video it, but anyway, just a big sandy area with a whole bunch of 5-gallon jugs of water. So, we were filtering it to put it in our, to get our filler bottles, and some guys who were out looking for a place to ride their motorcycles, their dirt bikes, came by. They were just they just stopped only because it happened to be a place to stop, and they needed to shift some things around their truck. They said, "Hey, you guys need some cold water?" So they gave us a liter each of cold water that we drank about half of and poured the rest of it on ourselves because the water's sitting out there. It's just god awful hot. And but anyway, so now we filled up with the hot water and we're ready to go. We're coming up to, here in a mile and a half or something, there's a road called Butterbrecht Road. Now, I remember this road well because I came in on it back in 2022 when I was out here, and I was sort of scoping things out and trying to figure out how to support Tiger Lily best. And I came in on that road. I'm pretty sure it's that road that I saw. I pulled in on. There was a bear right there in the road, and then it took off running down the road, and I just slowly followed it in my truck, and it ran, I don't know, half mile down the road before it finally took off into the hills. But anyway, then I got down to where the trail crosses the road, and thought, okay, this is great. This is where I was gonna have cold water for her, so she didn't have to fill up at this one. It's all hot and there's no shade and all that kind of stuff. And so I just continued down the road a little bit to find a place to turn around. And long story short, I wasn't paying very good attention, and anyway, got myself stuck in the sand, and it was not coming out easy. And so anyway, I didn't want to miss her, so I grabbed the water and ran up the road, a mile or whatever, to where she was going to cross. Hung out there for an hour until she crossed, and I was going to give her the water and then just go figure it out. And actually, in the meantime, I'd gone up the road and tried to get a cell signal, and I'd gone out to the main road, and I just walked out and waited for somebody to come by. Maybe it could help, and nobody came by. So anyway, once she came in and once she crossed, I tried to give her the water so she'd go on. She wouldn't leave me there. So she and I walked to the truck together, and she had her ice axe with her, and we used that and a bunch of tools I had in the truck and all sorts of stuff to dig it out. I went up at the hills and got rocks. We dug out part of the embankment that I was up against. I used my jack and jacked up the back of the truck, and then hooked onto some trees with some tow straps that I had, some shrubs, and then pulled my truck off the jack several times, which allowed me to move the back end a few feet. And I mean, it took us at least a couple hours, 2-3 hours, but eventually got it to the point where I got it out. So it was definitely MacGyver in action. But anyway, so we're going to be coming up here and either finding a place to tent close to that road, or At least finding a place to hang out until it cools off, then maybe hiking on. So we will see what the decision is. Hope I didn't bore you too much with that story. Okay, way out there you can barely see a road. That's the main road that comes from town. But anyway, then you can sort of see how a road cuts off to the right. And barely, but anyway, then that road comes down. That's what that little bit is there, is Butterbrecht Road. And that's where I saw the bear when I pulled off. And then the bear ran up this canyon. And then the road continues over here on the other side. Butterbrecht Road continues back. You can see some of it up there. And yeah, the rest of it's down in that canyon. I'll show it when we get there, but that's where I got the truck stuck, somewhere up around where that curve is, I think. Okay, we're on Butterbrecht Road. Yeah. Right back there at the curve. That's where I sat down, waited for Tiger Lily. And then walked down here a ways, around the curve, a couple of curves before my truck was stuck. And then this is where she headed off, back on the trail while I drove off. And now I'm on the trail.